Welcome back to Rich Words Music, where today we're looking at this. It's the Harley Benton SC Junior Fat in Benton Blue, and this is a new guitar for 2021. Now, let's get this out of the way straight away. I've been sent this guitar by Harley Benton, so for the first time on my channel, it's not a piece of gear that I've purchased myself or just borrowed from a friend. I've not been paid for this review. I don't even know if I'm going to get to keep the guitar, but I have been sent it. I'm allowed to say, of course, whatever I want about it, so just that you guys know that, let's continue. So why do I have this guitar in the first place? Well, it's actually because if you know my channel, you'll know that the very first review I ever did, the very first video, was of this, which is the SC Junior Fat in the limited edition Ferris Blue colorway. And when this guitar came out in February or March 2021, a few guys contacted me and said, hey, this looks similar to the Ferris Blue. Are there any differences? Can you demo and review this one for us as well? So I got in touch with my contact at Harley Benton and they sent me this one over, and here it is. So let's talk about it a little bit just before I play some riffs. Then it's a DC, meaning double cut. It's a junior in that we know what it's inspired by, and it's fat, and that refers, I think, on the one hand to the fat neck profile and also to the fact that we have a stacked pickup there. Now there is a DC Junior regular model from Harley Benton which has a modern C, a standard C-shaped neck carve, and what is very special about the fat models is that they have what Harley Benton refers to as a fat 59 neck carve, which is based of course on the legendary 59 Les Paul neck shape. I've never played a 59 Les Paul, but I know people who have, and I have played other chunky baseball bat necks in the past, and I know that this is not quite all the way there. It's a good big chunk in the hand, so if you like slimmer necks, this will not be for you, but this is not as big as a genuine 59 Les Paul neck, or so I've been led to believe. So the rest of the specifications then, starting at the headstock, we've got Wilkinson Deluxe tuners here in the vintage style. We've got a white truss rod cover on this model. The Ferris Blue had a black one, so that's the first difference. We've got an ebony fretboard here on the top of the neck. We've got 22 medium jumbo frets. The fretwork seems to be very good, straight off the top of the bat. Now, it's a 628mm scale length. It's a 14-inch fingerboard radius. Moving down to the body here, we've got the white hardware, again, as opposed to the black on the limited edition Ferris Blue version. So we've got a white, black, white 3-pie scratch plate, the Roswell P90D stacked pickup, single volume and tone controls, and the tone control is push, pull, and that moves you between single coil P90 mode and humbucker stacking P90 mode. Put your guitar in there, standard strap locks, that's all there is to it. It's a junior model, so it's a simple, pure rock and roll machine. The body is mahogany, the neck is mahogany too. I should just say that the price at time of filming is about €255. So mahogany body and neck and an ebony board for that price. We're already kind of in bargain territory, but let's hear how this guitar sounds. I'm going to play a bunch of riffs in my favorite styles, so indie, classic rock, even a bit of heavy stuff as well. I'll play most of the riffs, I think, in the single coil and the humbucking mode, just so you guys can hear if there's much of a difference. And at the very end, I'll just play a handful of riffs on this guitar and on the Ferris Blue guitar to compare them directly, and we'll see if they are indeed the same or if there are some differences. Enough talk then, let's play the Harley Benton SC Junior Fat in Benton Blue, and we'll speak about it again more afterwards. Alright then, so that was the Harley Benton DC Junior Fat in Benton Blue, and I hope you enjoyed the tones. I had a lot of fun making this video. These Junior model guitars are built for fun. They're simple rock and roll machines. They're always a joy to play. I own the Ferris Blue model, so I kind of knew what I was going to be getting with this one, and I got it. So the first thing to say then is that if you were wondering whether this guitar and the Ferris Blue are similar, they are. I think specifications wise they're pretty much identical. Me looking at and playing the guitars, they're pretty much identical. The only difference being that you've got the Benton Blue finish, which is a little bit different to the Ferris Blue. It might not come across in the video so well, but the shades of blue are kind of just about the same, but a little bit different as well. But you've also got the white hardware on this guitar, but that's all that separates them specs wise, otherwise they are identical. Let's start by looking at the build quality of the guitar then, and for €250 I can't find anything at all that makes me think this is not astounding value for money in the QC stakes. The frets are all nicely done, smoothed and polished, no rough ends. The body, the finish, the paint job all looks very, very good. There's no blemishes that I can see, no scratches. All the affordable but solid hardware is doing a great job. So in that sense, full marks to the Harley Benton QC team. For this price, absolutely nothing to complain about whatsoever in the build quality stakes. Let's move on to the playability then, and the main thing there is going to be the neck. Now, a DC Junior model is a simple guitar. It's made to be easy and fun to play, and it absolutely is, but the fat nature of the neck might put a few of you off. If you've got smaller hands, if you don't like a big chunky neck, then consider looking at the DC Junior standard model, which has a more standard modern C-shaped neck and is a little bit less of a handful than this one. Now, the DC Junior Fat in Benton Blue anyway does also have a gloss neck finish, and that means that it would have a penchant to get maybe a little bit sticky after a few hours of playing or after a sweaty gig or something like that. So if you prefer the feel of a satin finished neck, then you also might want to look elsewhere. I believe there's a DC Junior standard model with a satin finish, so that might be something worth looking at as well if that's more of your thing. But apart from that, playability wise, this guitar is super easy to play. I had no problems whatsoever. Look, the DC nature means that you'll get up to the dusty end of the fingerboard if that's your thing too, so full marks there on the playability front. Let's get onto the pickup and the sounds then. Now this is one versatile guitar. You might just have the one pickup and one volume and one tone control, but as you'll have heard from the sound samples, you can play a bunch of different things with it. I went from classic cleany stuff all the way through to classic rock and indie and punk and even some modern heavy chugging things, and this guitar handled it all with gusto. Now, the stacked nature of the P90 means that you have a humbucking mode too, and that means that you've really got no problem when it comes to doing more modern metal stuff. It was quite noisy, and you will have heard that between the riffs, but really not a problem, and you can use a noise gate if you're bothered by that. Now, the one downside I would say to this guitar in terms of sounds is that this is a stacked P90, but if you're after a genuine P90 sound, a classic P90 with its single coil, with its mid-range honk and its hum that it puts out, you're not going to get that with this guitar. The single coil mode of this is more like kind of just a generic good sound, but it's not got the magic of a genuine P90. And the humbucking mode here, it's a great humbucker sound, but it's not a humbucking P90 pickup. So if you're looking for a real P90 pickup experience, look at something like the SC Junior by Harley Benton, or another model with a genuine P90 in it that isn't stacked. Again, nothing against the stacked pickup. It's absolutely fantastic. It did a bunch of sounds really, really well, and I think you can see that from the stuff that I played, but it does not do that magic that a single coil guitar does. And actually, if you're interested to hear that in action, I do have a video with the Ferris Blue model of this guitar up against the Harley Benton SC Junior. I'll link to that in the description, in the cards and everything, so if you want to have a look at that, you'll hear exactly what I mean. Again, it's all down to taste, what sound you prefer, but I love P90s, I love this pickup too, but it's not a P90. So when it comes to price and value for money, I would rate this guitar very, very highly indeed. Exactly as I did with the Ferris Blue model that I reviewed about 6 or 7 months ago. Now that guitar was excellent value for money. It was the same price as this one. It does exactly the same as the Ferris Blue one. And again, I have to say, I'm floored by how much guitar you're getting for the money with this. 255 euros is not nothing, and there are cheaper guitars on the market, but you've got a mahogany body and neck and an ebony fretboard here. You've got so much versatility with that stacked P90. You've got Wilkinson tuners up there. It's so much quality that you're paying what is basically a beginner's price for a guitar, but you're getting something that you could absolutely gig with if you wanted to and get amazing professional quality tones too. So in that sense, I'd have no problems at all in recommending this guitar to anyone who's interested in it. If you dig the finish, if you dig the idea of having a stacked P90 pickup, if you want these specifications, go for this guitar. It's absolutely going to live up to what you expect from it, and quite possibly give you way more than your expectations. There are of course other brands that do similar junior style models for similar sort of prices. There are other models from Harley Benton, there are models from brands like Vintage and Epiphone, so there's plenty of competition, but for the price and the value for money, you can't really go wrong with the Harley Benton either. And that's all there is to it really. Full marks for this guitar. It's a whole lot of fun. It's not a real P90, but everything else about it is absolutely fantastic. I don't know, as I said in the intro, if I'm going to get to keep this guitar, but I would quite like to. And hey, maybe I'll think about doing some modifications to it if I do. Putting a different pickup in there, putting some real top-class hardware in there, getting it fettled by a tech to see if I can take it up an extra 5 or 10%. That might be an interesting journey to go on. So maybe stick around with the channel and see if I do get to do that in the next few months. But that's been it for today. I've been Rich for Rich Words Music, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.